Hi everyone, Collado here. Today we're in Melbourne at the Hilton Hotel in South Warf and we're catching up with Max Vangeli. I'm aware that you've been to Australia quite a few times. What do you most like about coming to Australia?
Well, first of all, usually I come during the wintertime, US wintertime, so it's nice to enjoy the summer over here. Nice weather and it's a good vibe. It's a very chill atmosphere, and I really enjoy just spending time here. I usually come here for about 2 weeks or more, so I get some off time after the shows as well. So it's really nice.
So how different is it playing in Australia compared to playing anywhere else in the world that you play?
I would say it's very different because just looking at the charts over here, the music that you guys play on the radio here, and some of the specific genres of house music is very different from around the world. It's always different from everywhere else, so you kind of have to adjust a little bit. Maybe not really adjust, but it's a different vibe. People have different tastes over here from, you would think that Europe and like UK would have a similar vibe as Australia, but it really is completely different, music-wise, of course.
And where are you originally from? You're originally from Europe, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from, I was born in Moldova, it's in Eastern Europe, yeah.
And how did you actually start your career in music?
I started playing guitar when I was younger, and then slowly started DJing. I first started I played guitar and then I started DJing a little bit, and when I started DJing I realized that I have to learn how to produce, so I learned how to play the keyboard a little bit and just kind of self-taught. Went from there, but it started with guitar when I was probably like maybe 14. Yeah, so that was my first instrument.
And how long have you been producing now for?
Producing dance music probably for about 6 years. Yeah.
And what software are you using to produce your tracks?
I use Logic now. I used to use Ableton, but now I use Logic.
And you said you were self-taught. So I saw an interview of you, and I remember you saying that originally you wanted to start a rock band because you like rock music. Is that true?
It's true, yeah. That was my passion initially. I was into rock. That's why I started playing guitar, and then when I realized that I'm not much of a rock star, I started producing dance music.
So at which point did you actually decide that DJing and producing was the direction that you wanted to go in as a career?
I think when I got really tired of playing local gigs over and over again in San Francisco, and kind of realizing that if you want to get somewhere with your career in DJing, you have to move forward and produce. That's the only way to break it. Especially now. It's impossible to break in without producing music. So it was kind of hand in hand, something that I had to do.
And how did you actually get discovered?
How did I get discovered? I sent in a few records to Pete Tong actually, and he played them on his show. He had this YouTube channel also. It was this TV show that he was doing. It was called Fast Tracks. It was a while ago, and he would feature new up and coming artists, and he featured my stuff a bunch of times, and that's how I got noticed by Chris Lake, and he signed my first EP on his Rising label. So that was kind of like my breakthrough moment, I guess. And then I just kept producing, but it wasn't until I started working with Size where things really started happening, bigger things started happening.
And what do you like working in the studio? Like, when you go into the studio, do you go with preconceived ideas of what you want to do, or do you just go into the studio with a blank canvas and just start from scratch?
Yeah, I go in hoping that I will create a monstrous hit and make millions of dollars. You have to start from scratch. That's the only way, because if you kind of try to force it, nothing will come out of it. But you have to have some kind of direction in terms of what kind of a record you're doing. If I want to do something really underground, then obviously I'm gonna start with specific sounds for a very dark underground record. Or if I want to go a little bit more commercial, then you start with some melodies, some chords, those kind of directions, but not necessarily trying to figure out exactly what kind of a record you're going to be making, At least for me, considering the fact that I work with size, I know which direction I'm going with my records, so that's already kind of a set mood for me every time I start working on a record.
And what would you say is the most challenging part about being in the industry?
God, there's so many challenging parts. I think it has a lot to do with the fact, the most challenging is the fact that this industry is really young and a lot of people don't really know what the fuck they're doing, sort of. And it takes a lot of hard work, individual hard work to kind of accomplish certain things that you need to accomplish because, especially, with certain ways promoters or labels are running, it's a very young industry for people, so a lot of people are learning. So there's, it's not really completely established yet. If you're talking about certain industries like hip hop, you take like Interscope Records, for example, their format, they've been making major massive records, and they got into dance music as well, and it's a process for everybody, it's a process about learning how to do it right. So that's one of the biggest challenges. Other than that is just, trying to avoid listening to other people's opinions too much and doing your own shit. That's very important. Not listening to people. Don't listen to other people.
And in your career, is there anything that stands out as a big career highlight for you at the moment?
There is. There's actually two. When I started, when I was initially getting into this whole thing, I remember watching these Sensation White videos, and I was like, my God, it would be so incredible to play at one of those. So I've done two already, and I did one of the biggest ones they ever had in Amsterdam, which was, I think, like over 55,000 people. So that was one of them. And then my second one was, I always wanted to have a residency in Ibiza, and this summer I had one with Antoine for People of the Night at Space, and it was just incredible running, our own parties. It's a nice feeling. So those are two accomplishments that I had that, I can cross off my bucket list.
And what advice can you give up-and-coming DJs and producers that aspire to be like yourself?
Not to listen to other people, like I said. Just, you have to create your own sound, especially right now. There's so many kids out there making music that it's almost impossible to, get noticed. So you really have to learn. You have to establish yourself somehow. If you're going to be making the same shit that everybody else is making, that is already being released, there's no point for you to even be there and release music. So you have to, just have, I think, and the most important thing about how I created my sort of style initially when I started producing was I was just kind of having, especially when I wasn't as advanced as I am now, I guess, I was just having fun with it. That's the most important thing, is just to have fun and try new things, and something will come up, versus trying to copy people, like watching these guys or that guys and like those guys and copying their things. That's not the way to do it,
And let's talk about your latest track that's coming out on the 27th of January, Grim, that you worked on with Danny Ray. How did that track come about?
Danny's a good friend of mine. I've worked with him. I've known him for years. He actually, he's also one of the kids from Laidback Luke's Forum. I know a lot of guys came out of there, and I've known him for about probably since I started producing music. And we've always talked about, making a record together. And he would always, joke around and be like, yo, when are we going to do a record? When are we going to do a record? And I'd always tell him, like, you got to, when you get better, when you get better. So, yeah, so we finally, he has developed a lot as a producer, and we finally found something to work on, and just wanted to do something different. And that's one of those records where I think, like, especially for the breakdown, it took us such a long time to do that breakdown to make it different from everything else, because when you hear it, you're like, oh, what's that, versus like another track with a big drop and some chords, put your hands up in the air, some crap like that,
And are there any other tracks that you're working on at the moment that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I got a record, solo record coming out in March for Winter Music Conference, or Ultra Music Week, whatever they call it now. It's called Last Night Changed It All, and I've already finished it, and I've been playing it actually. It's a beautiful record, a vocal record, so just been testing it out. That's going to be my next one after Grim, so I'm just going to keep pumping out records.
And what do you love to do in your spare time other than music?
Sleep. I try to go to the gym a lot, but I mean, other than music, just catch up with like people that I haven't seen, like family that I don't see often when I'm traveling and stuff. Try to clean the house a little bit here and there. I guess do the same things that everybody else does. But I don't really have off time. Like, even when I have days off, I'm always working on music, new material, and I have it aired all over the world on a bunch of radio stations, so I have to constantly, make sure that my mixes are in and everything is up to date and things like that. Yeah.
And if you weren't DJing and producing, what would Max Vangeli be doing?
Oh God, I don't know. I always wanted to be a professional hockey player. That never happened. But I would probably have some really boring job, probably. I'm most likely. Do something, but work for myself, obviously. I don't think I would be able to do that whole 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 office. No office jobs, that's for sure. So self-employed, doing some kind of a business. Like, whatever it is that it takes to make money nowadays, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just happy to be doing this, obviously.
And tonight's your gig here in Melbourne at Alumbra.
Yeah.
Do you have any pre-gig rituals?
Pre-gig rituals. It depends on the night, but I mean, I have a lot of friends here, so I'm gonna meet up with some people hopefully before the show. Have a dinner. I mean, not dinner. I mean, you gotta eat before the show, but other than that, prepare my sets. I always like to, go through the music and just figure out which city I'm in, and kind of because everywhere it's a little bit different, so I need to figure out what I'm gonna be playing and stuff like that. I've never actually played at this club, so I don't really know what to expect, but I've played in the city, so it's going to be fun.
And finally, Max, what do you have planned for 2014?
Lots of music. My focus this year is going to be releasing as much music as possible, because I've been kind of trying to figure out what I'm doing with my career last year, especially after the People of the Night album. We kind of, relaxed a little bit, trying to figure out what we want to do next, and right now 2014 is about doing a lot of solo projects separately from Antoine. Antoine is going to be doing his own thing, I'm going to be doing my own thing, and growing on size, shows, and just releasing as much as possible. That's the goal.
Well, Max Vangeli, thank you very much for joining us on BPM Radio Australia. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. Hey, this is Max Vangeli, and you're listening to BPM Radio Australia.